computer. Hello, welcome to Astrology Study Group. And today we'll finish off our year pretty much. Yeah, that'll bring us through the kind of the very beginning of the year and looking at the transits. So we've noticed like we're, right, of course, and we started into Capricorn. We just finished the Christmas holiday, and we noticed this stellium over here in Capricorn. Technically, a stellium is anything. I think they say somebody said five bodies, but I like to go three or four is pretty good because you got a whole combined energy. If you've got 10 things, having a third of it, more or less. Um, the moon moves so quickly, so I kind of don't count that. So that would just add to it. But there's four, so that we have always that's kind of this time of year, the sun. Well, since Pluto has been in Capricorn, and then we had that whole group going through Capricorn, we had this tight wedge of Capricorn and stuff, as you remember the last few years, as we got around the winter time. Maybe next time we'll have to go back and reflect and look at some of that. But we had those wedge patterns, and that was basically where all the planets in the chart were just compressed into, like a 90-degree area or so. And we, or even I think it got down, I can't remember, maybe to 86 degrees when we were like right into the first part of the all the crap. Let me just put it that way, all the crap that we all been going through. So that we experienced the astrology getting really compressed and our whole world shut down. And I'm not going to be here at this point to go into the politics of it because we wouldn't get through the astrology. But it's kind of self-evident. So this whole as we getting into the winter time now, and it has been narrowing, it's not so narrow. We see the chart is pretty wide. Look at the sun. It's almost halfway around. Look at it's if Mars were in Cancer, that would pretty much be like 180 degrees, but that's pretty good. Yeah, we got like 150 some degrees. So our world has widened out. That's my point. I want you to think astrologically while we look at this, because it's so easy to get just sucked down the weird, like, what was this? What is this? Oh my God, look at all these symbols. So just keeping that in mind, we've really widened out. Now we've got this little cluster here in Capricorn, and we know that Mercury travels with the sun. It always gets a little ahead of the sun. And then as it does that, it's kind of like, think about it like it being a dog on a leash. The dog is going to run as far as it can on that leash until it gets yanked back. And then you catch up with it, and then it kind of lags behind, and then you yank it, and then it comes and catches up with you, and then it runs ahead. So that's the orbit of Mercury and the sun. So right now, Mercury, it has been flying ahead. Now it's slowing down. And this, I think, is the most significant thing, pretty much for this next week. We already had Jupiter move into Aries. It was a few days ago. So we've got that change of flavor, that energy. That big planet is now moving ahead. It's like, Jupiter is like the Uncle Jupe, Mr. Jovial, expansive, and Aries wants to run. It's like, yeah, coach, let me in, I can run. When Jupiter was in Pisces, it was, I don't know, it was like more, everybody's all drugged out. Everybody's in a spacey cadet space, or into myself, and I'm just exploring the inner realms, man. Just kind of was really spacey. So being in Aries, we got a whole new energy there. And let's look at what happens. Now let's just go watch Mercury. It's not moving, but and then it says stationary. See a little S on it, and that's Wednesday. Nothing else really has changed. The moon, the moon's up there. It's going through Pisces now and tomorrow, and it's kind of adding to that last little bit of wow, kind of spacey cadet, man. As it gets it conjuncts over Neptune, but Jupiter kind of pulls it along, and then the moon moves fast. So that's going to go fast, and then it's going to go into, as we get into the New Year's, it's going to go into Aries. There we go on the 29th, and then we've got Mercury stationing right on top of the planet of love, right on top of Venus. So, but it's in the austere Capricorn. So it's kind of like these two are getting together, in this little conjunction and talking serious stuff. Um, is this valuable? Is this got merit? Is this, the communications about, serious communications about love, but taking a serious tone. So because of that Capricorn, maybe making some boundaries or making some, writing some things down. But see, now we have this conjunction. See, this is astrology is so crazy. If they're all meeting up here, and Venus is going to trek closer to Pluto while um, Mercury kind of backs off. It's sort of like right here is sort of this little invisible bump where Venus goes underneath it, but Mercury stops and goes the other way. So here we go, boom, and now it's retrograde. So we have, again, Venus is getting closer to Pluto, and there it is on the 31st. Venus now is kind of like center stage. I would say, on Saturday, it's now, and the last 2 days before that, leading up to it, Thursday and Friday, Venus was coming into that, and then we've had the stationary and turning around Mercury. So couple paths here going on. The Mercury path is like, when Mercury turns retrograde, it gets still, because it's slowing down. I mean, it doesn't really turn around, that it doesn't really, the planet doesn't turn backward in space. It's just our perspective. And we've gone over that, but just to know that, just to clear that up. And it's going the other direction, and it's going back through Capricorn. So Mercury is now, its task for the next 3 weeks is to, review and have that structure of the mind. And it's funny, one of the retrogrades of Mercury, and we end up next year with the same, we have a Mercury retro in Capricorn, but it backs up into Sagittarius next year, where this year it only backs up into further into Capricorn, or earlier degrees of Capricorn. Okay, so we got Mercury getting serious. So that's what our mind is going to be doing now this week. And then it's going to hit like the value thing right away. When I said, when it was with the, when it actually conjuncted Venus. So we're going to be really thinking about what's valuable to us. Who is valuable to us? What relationships are serious, and what do I really need to discard, and what won't I put up with anymore? What crap will I can't live by? These rules, these lines in the sand. Okay, so that all's going on. And then Venus meets up with Pluto. So here, on Saturday, right at the end of the year, when people feel like partying, I don't think it's so. I think it's going to be, well, I mean, of course, people are going to do their thing, whatever, but I think there's going to be a serious tone. Venus, the planet of love and money and values, is right there sitting in the lap of Pluto. And I have to say it that way because it's like, got to go over that icky stuff. That's I think a lot of depth. I think a lot of inner depth, depth with relationships, depth within yourself. What, it's like, you got to put your hand down the whale's mouth kind of and pull Juno out. It's just reaching down, and it's like you're not comfortable. It's kind of yucky, basically. So that's happening. And then as you go into the next day on the 1st of January, it's just a bit of a better, because Venus has gone past now. She had to put on her big girl bootstraps, pull up her big girl panties and do it, and just get past that depth, that death, rebirth, facing issues, getting clear about that. And it's kind of a very interesting new tone of the year, kicking the year off that way with the Mercury retrograde. Okay. That brings us pretty much right, to Sunday, which is, I think, it'd kind of be a sobering day. We also have a semi-sextile with Saturn and, God, my brain's not forming these planets here, Neptune. So they're anything semi-sextile or in conjunct also known as the quincunx, don't have anything in common. So we have the structure here, which is trying to be put in with the Saturn stuff here, but with nebulous Neptune. So I think there may be a little confusion, and it might be good just to not analyze so much on that day, because again, Mercury's just went retrograde, and we have this I don't want to say fight with Pluto, Venus fight with Pluto, but a Venus confrontation kind of with some of that depthy stuff. And then we have this little nebulous time, I think, to assimilate it. I think that's the best way to, this little semi-sextile here with these two planets on the first is kind of just an assimilation day, and don't push and stress yourself too much. Now we also have the moon that's been sneakily going over the north node and Uranus while we've been paying attention to all this stuff. So that's just bringing that real earthy, it kind of dovetails over there with Venus, which rules that. It's like that's trining. Venus is trining that energy, and we have that congruency maybe with what you're going toward, and your guide, you're letting your emotions guide you. And then there may be something kind of sudden emotional breakthroughs later in the day or around that time. So we got to have that time, that chill time. So I'm seeing all this sort of build up. Chill time is much needed for, like, the first into the second, as the moon is then going through this earthy Taurus, this, Venusian area, and then bringing up stuff in a good way. All right. And then the next day, the moon's passing all of that, coming into Monday. Then we kind of sober it up again. And did I miss something here? No, that's still there. The moon's getting ready to then conjunct over Mars. So it's like there that, like, the next day, boom, on Tuesday, which just brings us next week. And then so the moon has that energy, that emotional Martian energy there, so we could have some fiery words. You could have some fiery actions. You could get fired up emotionally. That could have reached in from the depths and set the new tone. And this is very interesting because we're crossing the new year with this. So I'm going to stop here and I'll continue with the 2023. All right.